Hey crafty friends, this is Chelsea. Welcome to today's video. I'm excited to be sharing this video with you. So the creative design team has been posting videos all week long, helping me celebrate my milestone of hitting 10,000 subscribers. And they are making videos with projects based on some of my projects. So it's so fun to see their own twist on things that I have created in the past. If you haven't caught those videos yet, I'll make sure to link the playlist at the end of today's video, and that way you can go and catch up on their projects. I also want to say a big thank you to all of you who watch my channel, who subscribe and leave me comments on the videos. That's always the fun part, is seeing what you guys enjoyed about the video, how these things have helped you, or how you're using them in your own projects. I love reading your comments and chatting back to you there. Originally, when I started posting on YouTube, I posted some art journaling content, some techniques, posted some cards. I definitely was not regularly posting on YouTube. It kind of went in little spurts. It wasn't until I joined the creative design team where I started posting more regularly and actually posting scrapbooking videos. So it kind of really changed at that point a couple of years ago, and has gotten me into being a YouTuber, into making regular videos, and I'm really enjoying it. So I was looking back at what do I want to do? What of my own work do I want to scrap lift? And the very earliest video on my channel of a scrapbook layout was actually like a cut above layout. So if you're not familiar with Close to My Heart, they're layouts that have like pre-printed bases. They have die cuts. You don't do stamping or anything. You kind of just stick everything together, add your photos, add your journaling, and you're done. So that was the first one that I had posted. And I think maybe that's the only cut above layout I have posted on YouTube. But I thought, hey, why don't I do that, except make all the pieces myself and do it in a completely different way. So that's what I'm going to do today. I hope you'll join me. Let's go on over to my table and we'll get started. Okay, here is a look at my layout. Now, unfortunately, this is just a screenshot of the layout. My albums are kind of in disarray right now. I've been reorganizing them and taking them apart and putting them in new albums, so I couldn't put my hands on the finished layout, but I wanted to show you what it looked like. We have this ombre background on here, and then we have this heart, kind of like a triple layered heart, and that is printed right on there, as well as there's some detail in the background there, some little like leaves, all done in white, and that's all printed on the base. And then we have photo mats with layers. We have some banner pieces here. I believe those little scallops were also stickers. And we have a 4x6, a 4x4, and 2x2s. And I know I don't want to use the 2x2s, and I think I'm going to switch up the photo organization a little bit. I like where this one is, and I think I will keep that, but I'm thinking maybe 2 3x4 photos here, and maybe reorganize these clusters a little bit. Now notice we have our big clusters of embellishments there, and I'm going to keep that same idea, but it's not going to be florals. So the photos I'm going to be using are very different. They are finger painting photos. So super cute. I cannot wait to get this scrapbooked. Another one of those instances where I have really bright colors in the photos and I don't necessarily have papers that match it, which is one of the reasons I haven't scrapbooked it yet. Is usually as collections come out and then I find what photos match those collections. Some things like this that have really vibrant colors just are not getting scrapbooked. So for this one, I'm going to make some of my own paper, but I'm also going to use the little bit that I have left of this collection. This is called Fresh Paint, and it has a very painterly feel to it. You can see it has this heart pattern on the other side. I don't have a ton of it left. I really like this black with the like chalkboard finish to it. It kind of has a brick pattern in the background too. I also have this sticker sheet. I don't know if I'm going to end up using any of these stickers, but I'm going to keep it handy because some of the colors will work in really nicely and it might go well with what I end up doing. But I'm going to use little bits and pieces of that. As well as I have some cardstock that is specialty. This is the UV coated cardstock. I have both the just like solid UV coating as well as patterns in the UV coating from 2 different specials that came out over the last few years. So I think I'm going to pull in some of this as well. You guys know often white cardstock is my go-to background for starting, but I think today I maybe don't want to keep it white. So, I mean, I'm going to have colors coming in from all my pattern papers and everything. So I'm going to keep that in mind to not get too busy, but I want something on the background. The original layout had like a nice ombre, so maybe something like that. I'm going to have to play around and see what I can come up with. All right, I think what I want to do is do a brayered background. So because I'm just using regular white cardstock, I don't really want to do anything that's going to add moisture to it. So I'm going to start off just with inks and see how that goes. So I've pulled lemon, also tangerine, which is not in this collection, but it's a nice lighter orange, as well as nectarine, which is a little bit darker. We have candy apple, and I also grabbed bluebird. I'm thinking I don't want this on the background. I'm going to go just with warm tones, but we'll see what ends up happening. I also grabbed my little 2-inch brayer. You could use any size brayer you want, keeping in mind that the smaller brayer, you're going to get more lines from it, which is what I'm going for. I want to roll the ink onto my page, and I want it to have like a very kind of messy look to it. And so I want lots of lines, so that's why I'm using a smaller brayer. You could definitely use a larger brayer. The bigger the brayer, the fewer lines you're going to have. Now I've got a piece of printer paper here. It's probably hard to see white on white. Maybe what I'll do is I'll move this one out of the way. This is going to be my scrap paper, and I'm going to start off with yellow. And maybe we'll start kind of ombre, put yellow at the top, and see how that goes. So when you're using a brayer, you want to roll, lift, roll, lift. Okay, let's see how dark that is. So you can see already your first pass is darker, and then as you go, the lighter and lighter it gets. So I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. I'm applying the ink kind of haphazardly. I'm trying to stay away from the edge mostly, so I can have like a nice white border, but if I cross over it a little bit, not a big deal. But I'm moving my brayer all different directions and different passes. I want this to kind of look messy. That's my goal. And I'm going to switch over kind of halfway here through to the tangerine color. And I think I'm going to go for 3 colors. And you can see this one is quite a bit darker. So I'm trying to keep in mind where my photos are going. So this area that's like super kind of thick, lots of marks that are really dark, that's probably going to be mostly covered by my photos. Where it's a little bit lighter, that's going to be where it's more visible. I'm trying really hard not to make this too planned or anything. I'm trying to make it very haphazard so it will come out looking natural. So I'm not trying to think about it too much. I'm really intuitively moving the brayer. Now I'm switching over to candy apple, and I did my first pass, kind of rolled it off, and I'm going to keep doing this because you can see how dark that is compared to the other colors. I don't want to overwhelm the other colors with the candy apple, so I decided to roll off the first pass and use kind of the second generation or the lighter version of that ink. Now I'm going to go ahead and repeat the steps that I just did on the right page. This can sometimes be the tricky part because I'm trying to replicate something very organic that I did on the first page. So I'm going to do my best to kind of make them the same amount of color and same idea, staying away from the edge for the most part. And I'm going to keep looking at the left-hand page to try and make sure they're somewhat similar. If you've watched the videos from the rest of the creative design team already, then you know a few of them did mention my love for mixed media, and I couldn't resist bringing in at least some ink on my background here and just being playful. That's one of my favorite things about mixed media, is just playing and not worrying about making the result super perfect, because it does seem to work out in the end, and I just think there's a really fun freedom that comes with that when it's not quite as precise. If doing kind of mixed media style or using different techniques kind of freaks you out, I think doing a background like this is a great way to practice, because if you really hate it, you know, what have you lost? Some time and a little bit of white cardstock. The other way you can do it is by creating embellishments or tags or something that has like a mixed media feel, has techniques on it, and adding those into your pages so you get a little bit of that artsy feel, but without the pressure. If you haven't tried anything like this brayered background, I encourage you to give it a shot. I think it could really bring something exciting to your pages, something new, and breathe new life into your scrapbooking routine. My left page was looking a little bit lighter on the bottom part, so I decided to bring in a little bit more candy apple. And then I'm going to bring in my Cricut cut here. I just went and searched in Cricut for like a swirly circle or layered circle, scribbly circle, something like that to find that cut. And then I cut it out of black. And I have matted my 3x4 photos on black. And then for my big 4x6, I matted it on candy apple and then onto the pattern paper. Now for this one, I cut my pattern paper a little bit longer because I want it to stick out the end. On the layout that I'm following, it had pieces kind of top and bottom, but for mine, I didn't want to do that. So I'm going to have my banners and things sticking out of the right-hand side. You can see I'm cutting my banners here. I just make a snip in the middle, and then I go from the corner up to the top of that snip, and then corner up to the top of that snip. It's a really easy way to make fairly even banners. That candy apple piece that I'm using has the UV coating on it in a pattern, so it adds a little something extra special. This little piece here I cut with a crafting shapes. It's supposed to be like a little piece of washi tape. I'm also going to use this paintbrush, and I cut it out of the Bluebird UV coated cardstock that just has a solid coating. And then I found this splatter cut and this paint can cut on Cricut as well. The paintbrush is from that die set that I just showed you, but I cut out the paint splatters and the paint can splatters all out of the UV coated cardstock. I don't know if it shows up great on camera, but in person it just gives it this high shine glossy finish that looks like a glossy paint, which I think is so much fun. I'm just working on figuring out what I'm going to put where, and I did notice that having the yellow paint can at the top with the yellow background, I didn't like as much. It's a lot of yellow. And then I noticed at the bottom, I had the red paint can over like in the red area. So I think I'm going to switch that up because I wanted to have it a little bit opposite. So put red at the top, and then I have a blue paint can. I did all three colors. I stuck with the primary colors here because they worked with the paint colors that my daughter had, plus the colors on her little like paint vest. Along with that big splatter, the Cricut cut out some smaller splatters that go with each kind of puddle of paint, and I love it because it adds movement. Now I'm adding some more banners to the right hand side and some more strips of paper that I ripped. I just want to bring in those patterns on different spots on the page, and then I'm going to have a third spot for my visual triangle of embellishments. Now I should mention for my paint cans, I cut them out of mink and charcoal cardstock. The paintbrushes are out of linen and mink, and then the very tips I actually cut out of the UV coated cardstock for the color. So each brush has the matching color on the end, so it looks like it was dipped in the paint. Now I wasn't liking how this group of photos wasn't standing out as much as I wanted from the background, so I decided to cut another piece of that black and white pattern paper just to give it a little bit more visual weight, and then just use a small strip of that multicolored pattern that is also ripped to tuck under the end just for an extra layer. I want to put my title right above my photos here, but I didn't know what I wanted to use. So I found this Little Dreamer scrapbooking set. This is quite old, and it says, "You make the world colorful," which is perfect for this. And thankfully, it fits in that spot perfectly. So I decided to go ahead and stick all my pieces down. So everything is attached to the page, and I'm stamping last, which is a risk. That can go very wrong, but I decided I just wanted to risk it. So I'm using archival black, which is my favorite for like super black sentiments or titles. And I'm also using the back side, the foamy side of my Versamat, so I can get the best impression. I always stamp on scrap paper first, and I'm glad I did because my first impression was not great. And spoiler alert, my second and third impression were not great. And I was like, man, maybe I should switch inks or give up on this. I just couldn't seem to get a completely solid coverage. So I did end up stamping it several times, as you can see there, and then it started stamping really good. So I decided just to go for it. It's black. If it messes up, I can use a black pen to fill it in more solid, but thankfully it stamped perfectly. My page is almost complete, but I do need some journaling, and I thought what I'd do is just use my T-ruler, draw some pencil lines underneath my photos here, and fit my journaling right in this space. I usually underestimate how much room I need for my journaling because I always seem to have so much to say. But I'm going to start with a few lines here, and then I do have space. I can add on more lines if needed, which I did. Now, looking at this, I felt like there was kind of an empty little spot in that corner that I created with those banners. And I was debating, should I add something? Should I add some stickers? So I grabbed off these hearts, and you'll have to let me know what you think. Stickers or no stickers? Which one looks better? I very gently set the stickers on here. They're not pushed down at all because I just couldn't quite decide. I think it looks nice having that corner filled out a little bit, but then I felt like there's a lot going on this page and maybe it just adds too much busyness. And of course, I need to add some hearts on the other page to kind of tie it all together. So I put 2 more over in that little area on the right-hand side. And I looked at this for a while and I took them on and off and on and off, and finally I decided to pull them off. So let me know down in the comments, hearts or no hearts, and I might just add them back on if you guys all think that I should. Here's a look at the finished layout. I love those splatters. I think they add a lot of movement and fun to the page. The background, I think, works perfectly with the whole paint theme. And honestly, I just had a ton of fun just brayering on the ink and being super random and haphazard with it. If you haven't already, go check out the other videos from the creative design team here in this playlist. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here and subscribing, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.